Welcome to the Stumble Across podcast. This is the podcast where I basically stumble across people online and invite them on for a chat, usually with me knowing very little about them, completely unprepared, completely unfiltered, and often leading to uncovering the best stories. Now, in today's episode, I stumble across McCrory, a singer from County Tyrone, Northern Ireland. We speak about her experience as a contestant on Glór Tíre, an Irish country music TV show. This win paving her way for her country music career. We talk about how she processed that and performing in the spotlight at such a young age. We also talk about how it was quite daunting starting out in the Irish country scene and being a female in the industry. Lauren also speaks about her job working with the Children's Disability Team and a lot in between as well. Don't forget, if you do like the podcast, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review and a rating as well. Let's get into today's podcast.
My name is Glór McCrory. I am 26 and I come from a little place called Galway just outside Dungannon in County Tyrone. And I am a singer. I don't want to particularly label myself as any type of singer because I do tend to do quite a lot of different things. I sing country music primarily, but I also am a vocals coach and then I teach musical theatre. So I do wedding singing and a load of other stuff. But yeah, primarily country singing at the moment and then mixture with wedding, which is your folk side, and then musical theatre. So good range, good versatility.
Yeah, and for people who don't know, I mean, this part of the world, I mean, country music is one of those big things, especially your part of the world as well.
Yeah, it is. It's huge. You know, quite a lot of talent does come from Tyrone. You know, you've got the likes of obviously Philomena Begley, who lives literally just over the road. So she's been a great inspiration and she's been a great help as well, you know, giving advice, giving, you know, different pieces of information that, you know, you need, especially being a female within the country industry. So it's been very helpful, but also, you know, it's a very big county and we're all very supportive of one another, which is definitely another thing that really helps.
And you mentioned like being a female in that genre. Like, do you think that's a hard thing? Maybe not so much now, but certainly maybe when you were starting out, it was a kind of daunting thing.
Yeah, definitely daunting. Like, that's a great word. I originally came into this scene, you know, I grew up with country music, you know, that's just, I think it's a rural thing, you know, I was reared on like the likes of Big Tom and Philomena, as I said, and the likes of Susan McCann and Louise Morrissey, etc. So it was always something that was, you know, engraved into the bones, really. So growing up, it was, you know, I wanted to do this and recorded music and whatnot. But I actually got really into it around the age of 17. I went on to win a competition, which allowed me to record a music video and a single. And then I released that. And then from that, I got the chance to go on to Glór Tíre, which is a country music competition on TG4, Cahar. And that was back in 2017. And that's really where things started to take off. But being a female was difficult because back then, and still now, you know, I think in today's day and age things have maybe progressed a little bit, but whenever you are younger, you're quite insecure and you're quite conscious about what everyone else thinks of you. And obviously I was quite a young girl and, you know, everyone knew me as being a country singer, but I was always quite like, oh, they're going to think this of me, or but I, you know, if it's in your bones and you want to do it, you have a passion for it, you're going to continue. But there was always that little bit of insecurity. So things went well. I went on to win Glór Tíre, which I was delighted about. Fantastic experience. And
what was that experience like, you know, just like going into that for the first time? No one, obviously, the big platform that it has.
Yeah. So I had watched it for years and years. And every year I was, I'm going to be on that someday. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday. Yeah. And I actually had started uni. I started it was Freshers Week and we were in Belfast. I was in a pub, fun fact, whenever I received the email that I had been, you know, approached to be on the show. Barry Kerwin, who again is a fellow Tyrone man, he wanted to be my mentor, so he was for taking me on. And I was like, happy days, grand, no bother at all. So that was a fantastic experience. We recorded the first, I think, 11 shows. There was 9 contestants at that time. I think now there's only 6. So we spent a week in Galway pre-recording those shows and I absolutely loved it. Not necessarily just because of the singing, whole package, obviously then radio, rehearsals, dress rehearsal. It was such an overwhelming experience. I was the youngest on the show at that time. I was 19. And I remember, you know, just sitting there. Now, obviously with TV, you're kind of waiting around a long time, but I was taking it all in. We were like, oh, it's time for dinner. And I was like, but just not watch. Just not sit here and watch that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was brilliant. It was really, really good. And then obviously the live show started then in around, I think, this time. That was intense for a few weeks. It was campaigning, you know, gigging, trying to get as much attention, really. I know that doesn't sound the right word, but you were trying to just really make a platform for yourself. And, you know, luckily it paid off. Thankfully it paid off.
I guess it gives you such like an insight into the world as well. I've no idea what goes on. You know, you just think you get on a stage and you sing, but it's not really just that.
If only it was that easy. Oh my goodness. That thing, you know, I was quite young and I suppose in a sense naive. Obviously I'm 26 now, I'm a wee bit older, but back then, despite being young, I was like a sponge. So I was watching everything. I was taking everything on board. People were talking to me, and like people, you know, who had quite a lot of experience within the scene. You know, you've got Declan Nerney, Mike Denver, Jimmy Buckley. They were all giving me pieces of advice. I was really taking it on board, but sometimes sitting going, I was a wee bit maybe overwhelmed, like, I can't believe they're talking to me. Oh my God, I'm speaking, you know what I mean? But still listening to what they're saying. But I don't think back then I was in a position to maybe, you know, or mature enough to take on board what they were saying, you know, and put that into practice. Whereas now I'm like, yes, it was 6-7 years ago, but I haven't forgot, you know what I mean? So it definitely gave you an insight into what's required.
And what advice did you kind of take from that? With all those names kind of stand there giving you that advice, what was the best things that come out of it?
You know, obviously, you've got so many people giving you some much different advice. And it's not even coming from performers. You've got it from promoters, from managers, from radio presenters, from people who know the industry. So you're getting all of this advice. But I think the main thing that always came from everybody was just be true to yourself. Be true to yourself. Record the stuff you want to record, do the things that you want to do. And that's one thing that I really kind of am very passionate about that now going forward, because back whenever I won Glór Tíre and I came out of that, as I mentioned, I was probably a wee bit naive and probably just didn't really know who I was as a person, never mind as an artist. So I was kind of just putting my feet in every pond. And doing a load of different things, and it did become too overwhelming. It was too much, and I was trying to please so many people. So I took a step back then from the scene, and then COVID hit, and it was during COVID that I realised, no, I do like country music here. Do you know what I mean? And I did put aside everyone's kind of and went, right, just do true to you. What do you want to do? So here I am.
And before we get on to like today, anyone who doesn't know that programme, I suppose maybe like an X Factor thing would be the generalised way to describe it, would it? Yeah.
Yeah, like it in regards to country music, definitely. You know, it has been going on for years. So to be able to say that I won the 2017 series was just, it's a privilege. You know, I'm honoured to say that because so many other artists have came from that show. The likes of Lisa McHugh, Lisa was on it. And then Olivia Douglas, who's another female, she was recently on it as well. So you know, it's definitely a great platform, and it does give you a good standing ground to move forward. And, you know, obviously you're publicised throughout the whole of Ireland, but also people watch it in Scotland and the US, and it is a good platform. And I loved it. I did love it, and I'm very grateful to all the team at Glór Tíre and also TG Cahir as well, because they were great. So it was a lovely experience.
And on the lead up to that, like, was this always something that you wanted to do? You know, like back in school, was this kind of the dream job almost?
Do you know what? Growing up, I was very sporadic in what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be in the entertainment industry, and I think everyone around here, you know, teachers and friends and just neighbours, like I was just always singing, and it didn't matter what genre. As I mentioned, I do musical theatre, so growing up, it was I want to be an actress in musical theatre. And then country was just on the side, like a wee hobby. But country then kind of took me a wee bit further. So I kind of just had to roll with it. And I was singing the country music. But I did go on to train in acting. I left after GCSEs and went to school with Belfast to train in acting. So I did that. And then it was either do I go to drama school or do I stay and do country music? And I stayed and I done country music, and that's what led me to Glór Tíre. So
Was it always like around your house? When you were younger, was music such a big thing?
It was, my dad would be very heavily into country music, and he himself would play the accordion, and my mum would be a brilliant singer, great singer. So, I am blessed with the music in the house and the, the talent. And, it's one of those things where you're you are what you're reared with type thing. So, we were reared with country music and folk music and traditional Irish music, and it's kind of just embedded in us from a very young age. And I have my parents to thank for where I am today, because they obviously seen something, they obviously heard something, and then they sent me down that route. So at the end of the day, if it wasn't for them, God knows where I would be. I'd probably be singing, but without their support throughout the whole entire years.
And did you find it harder when you were kind of younger at school and you were following that? Because I'm in a wedding band, and I did music at school, and I just remember 10 years ago, I remember being in school, and it just wasn't one of those cool subjects to do.
No, it wasn't. Like, I remember I was 13 and I recorded an album, and it was, I don't even have it. I was going to say I could have it and show you, but I recorded an album, and it was called Country Girl of 13, and I can remember we needed a photograph for the actual album cover, and my mum took a photograph of me in our hall. Like, it wasn't great quality, but I can remember we sold it in our local shop. I was so embarrassed, and everyone on the bus was like, "Oh, Country Girl of 13, oh my God, that's fair." And saying these big things, and I was like, "What am I doing? Why did I do this?" I'm just getting so much stick, but I just kind of stuck to my guns. And I did get the stick, and I did get the wee comments, but at the end of the day, I kind of looked at it and was like, look, if they're going to play football, they can play football. If they're going to do Irish dancing, they can do Irish dancing. If I'm going to sing, I'm going to sing. And if I'm going to get stick for it, well, so be it. Do you know what I mean? And that was kind of my attitude. Again, I think that was because my parents as well kind of, instilled that into me. They were like, look, you do you, you'll be grand. And that's just what we did. But, there was times where I was like, I am mortified. I want to give it up. I don't want to do this. It's not cool. I want to be one of the cool kids. But, at the end of the day, if you have a passion, you're gonna fulfill it.
I know. And I mean, now it's kind of done a complete flip now, because it is so popular.
It is. Like, I think back whenever I was about maybe 16, 17, it did kind of change a wee bit, because Nathan Carter kind of came on the scene, Derek Ryan, Lisa McHugh, and things that was seen as a wee bit more popular. And I was quite grateful for that, because it meant that people did maybe take me a wee bit more seriously. But most recently, people I think social media has really made a great impact on it, because you've got all of these young people who are making a living out of it now, and who are following their passion and creating great music. Like, there's some musicians out there who are really, really good. It is seen to kind of be a cool thing now, which is great. I love that. For me personally, I just want to see people do well in life, regardless what it is they're doing. And I think a lot of people around this area, as I said, are very supportive, and I'm very grateful for that. And now whenever I'm talking to people, they seem to be actually really, really interested, and are delighted to see me actually making a living out of this. And that's really humbling, because it's like, do you know what, Lauren, you had all these wee thoughts in your head of people thinking this, that, and the other, and they're not thinking that. Like, they are happy to see you doing well and are supporting you, and that drives you forward too, because you're like, you know what, no, I'll give this a go, and I can make a living. And that is primarily, that's the goal at the end of the day. Like, I do have a job. I'm a social work assistant with the children's disability team, but it's great. I love it. I do love it, and that's where another passion of mine lies. But if I could do music full time, I would.
And tell us a little bit about that.
So I obviously do my vocal coaching and whatnot, which does take up a lot of the week. And then whenever I'm then working with the disability team, that's kind of a little bit of an outlet, because it does kind of give you that sense of, I don't want to use the word normality, because I don't think that's the right word to use, but wee bit of calmness. It's not intense, and obviously because I'm working for an organisation, my mind's not going, right, what can I do, and da-da-da.
Yeah.
But the reason why I got into that is because my brothers are both special needs, so we always had that involvement from the social work team, and it just always really intrigued me, and I just liked how they were able to help people and help us, and then that's just why I then wanted to go into that. And I think that was during COVID.
But I imagine that's such a hard job to do as well. Like you mentioned COVID, like during COVID, I think that's when we all started to realise like how hard those types of jobs are.
Yeah, I actually during COVID just before that I was working as an SEN classroom assistant, so I was still within, the disability kind of sector, but really difficult, and you're feeling a wee bit guilty potentially if you didn't go into work, because you knew that, those kids needed care for, and that those few hours within those days is literally the only bit of time that their parents get and their wee bit of relief. And if you can help them anyway, you will. Do you know what I mean? And obviously with my brothers at home, we were vulnerable and whatnot, so I didn't want to go in. I didn't want to be that person to bring anything back in. But you do have this duty of care at the end of the day, and that's what we did. But it is a great job. It's very rewarding. It's very satisfactory, whenever you're getting, the things that you're implementing are then paying off, and you're seeing that improvement with families, and families are, big smiles seeing you coming in through the door and welcoming you through the door. It's lovely, really, really nice. And that's what I mean in regards to normality. It's just, it's probably a side of me that people don't know, because they are so used to being like, oh, she's a singer. Like, that is literally what I'm called. If people see me, oh, you're the singer.
I suppose you also, coming at that from a creative point as well, it must work hand in hand in some scenarios.
Oh my goodness, it does. Like 99% of the time, if I'm going in to work with a family, the first thing we're doing is music. Mm-hmm. They're quite sensory and tactile, kind of forward way of thinking. So normally if you're doing that, there's always like music in the background. So it's always the calm, the slow music. And then, you have kids then who just maybe need to release a little bit of anger. And it's like, here you go, here's a drum. Let's find the drum. Let's bang the xylophone. Let's bash it out in the keyboard. And it's great. It's lovely. And, some of them can sing as well. So you're going in, you're just literally playing the guitar and they're singing. It's lovely. It's so nice. And it's very grateful that I'm able to combine the two, because in some jobs, obviously, you can't do that. So it's kind of like, my job mixed with my hobby. So it's great. It is. It's lovely.
And so after that kind of talent show, when it all, I guess, became a little bit real for you, where did that take you to? I mean, I noticed on your Instagram, you've been kind of noted as a up and coming as well.
Yeah, and so I was approached by, different festivals, and that was just really on the cusp of summer. So it was in around like April, Easter. So it was like festivals for the summer, people contacting you for summer festivals and events and whatnot. But then I went on to do the Irish Post Country Music Awards, and it was televised again on TG4. And then I won the Best Female Newcomer. So that was a big one. That was a big step, because that was the biggest awards within the country scene at that time. And I was performing on it as well. Do you know what I mean? So to even have the chance to perform on that's fantastic. But I was not up against, obviously there was different ones within my category, but people on the bill were the likes of, like Foster and Allen, Louise Morrissey, Dominic Kerwin. There was real big names, Philomena, Aidan, Quinn. There was just a load of different ones. I was like, did I just win the female best newcomer? What is going on here? This is crazy. And was so grateful. But I can remember being so overwhelmed. Like, Barry Kerwin actually won best male newcomer. And given that the two of us were mentor and contestant and whatnot, we were getting photos all like left, right and centre. And one photo we were getting with our actual awards, and he had his arm around me, and I was like shaking. I was like vibrating. He's like, okay. I was like, I don't know. I think so. It was very, very, very overwhelming. It was just a lot so soon within such a short space of time. And I just don't think I was like prepared for that, because I am quite humble, and people have said this to me that I'm too modest. And that's possibly maybe a downfall, because I know this is such a ruthless business and you gotta, keep going. So that's one thing I've taken away too, is like, yes, be modest, but to a certain extent. It was too overwhelming. And then that's whenever I decided, right, I'm going to pull back a wee bit here. So I just gigged up until I think it was the Christmas of that year. And then I think my final gig was then with a promoter in the Armagh Marketplace Theatre that Christmas. And then that's when I decided, right, let's take a step back here. So decided to pull away from that, and then COVID, obviously, as I mentioned, and then in October I released my brand new single, Hold Out a Little. And we released it, we did a music video for that, and that was it. And we're gonna see where it goes, because that's basically my wee stamp of saying, right, I'm back, I'm ready, let's go.
And because for a lot of people, like in the entertainment industry, COVID was kind of that little break. Did you feel a little bit refreshed after, after stopping it for those years?
I did, yeah. So I kind of stopped it for about a year, and I was like, no, don't like country music. It's too much. It's too this. COVID hit. Within the first few months, I was like, no, I'm not really, I don't miss it. This is great. I get to lie in my bed all day. Like, who doesn't love that? Do you know what I mean? And then it went on and it went on and it went on, and I couldn't perform. I couldn't act. I couldn't teach. I couldn't work. I couldn't do nothing. And I find myself going back to my guitar and singing country songs. And it was at that moment I went, yeah, I can't be taken away from this. This is in me. I love this. And it was one moment where I went, I think I'm just telling myself I hate this because it's hard and I don't want to face the challenges in front of me. I just went, it's not my time yet. I know I want to go back into this someday. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, but I know I want to go back into it, because I did find myself just going back singing all the old classics, singing the songs I'd sang before. And we were actually, COVID had passed this time, things were opening up, and I was on tour with the musical Blood Upon the Rose, and we were in Glasgow, and we were doing 3 shows over there. And yeah, I got chatting to the sound man, actually, who was very much into country music, and we were great friends, but I didn't realise that he was so involved in the country scene. And he was like, look, you need to come back. Like, you have got something, let's give it a go. So the two of us kind of put our heads together and went, right, let's give it a go. October, Whole Lot of Little was the first step back, and I'm just going to keep going now.
And that, because that kind of scene, it will always go through the generations.
It will. I think that's one thing at the moment, like, that's one thing that I'm finding really, you need a good song. I'm going to record music and put it out there until, the cows come home or whatever. But it is all about that one song. And there's all the old time ones, which, like the sing-along songs, they're always redone. They're always covered by people. And that's essentially how the wheel keeps turning. Someone takes an old song, revamp, and it keeps going. Obviously, I would love to do original, and I love writing. I do love writing, but I would like to maybe get a little bit more music out there to build a name, because I feel that if I was to write original, it would either go one way or the other. It would go, work, brilliant, that's a great song, or who's she, I don't know her, and then it flops. Yeah. So that's why I'm thinking, if I revamp, and as you said, just keep it going and recovering, and see where it takes us. But I love that. I love hearing a real old time song and going, he or she made a great version of that. That's really good. And
almost like to the generation that's coming up, it's a brand new song to them, because they've never heard it.
This is it. I actually, with me teaching, I teach in a school, and it's in a rural area, and I walk in, and about 80% of them is like, can you teach me how to sing Wagon Wheel? Can we sing Any Man of Mine, Maya Twain? And I'm like, yeah, sure, no bother. And there's songs that I'm saying to them, and they're, to me, I'm like, okay, everybody knows these songs. Like, this is everyone, they've no clue. So as you said, it is new to the new generation. So that's, again, a positive to us, because you're getting the best of everyone there. The old generation, older generation. Probably it's bringing back a bit of, of their memories, and a wee bit of maybe of nostalgia, a wee bit nostalgic for them, if that's the right word. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you've got the new generation, new songs. So it's good, but as I said, you just need the right song.
And is that what you're working on at the moment? Are you just going to kind of concentrate on the music? Is there anything kind of significant that you've got planned upcoming?
Well, at the moment, we're finalising songs for our album, for my album, my debut album. So we're working away at that. We're in the recording studio at the moment, and then we have a few little projects, which is kind of live music. So I'm looking forward to that. So hopefully that'll be all out just before summer. And then I'm doing my first gig with a band on the 30th of June, which is in the Scenic Inn. So that'll be exciting. At the moment, I'm working with a wedding band, which is something of your fate. But I'm popping out again then at the end of May. And after May, then it's solely focused then on myself and my own gigs. So looking forward to it. Daunting. But if we don't face the challenges, we ain't going to get any further. So it's rehearsals for that. And then obviously in the recording studio to finish the album. And then we'll have an album launch for that, hopefully in around the start of summer.
Brilliant. Well, the best of luck with all that, and thanks so much for coming on the podcast as well. I guess you can find you on all the socials, Facebook and Instagram, all the rest of it.
Yeah, all the socials, Lauren McCrory on Instagram and on Facebook, and then you can also get me on TikTok, just Lauren McCrory Vocals there. So yeah, go on over, follow, and thank you so much for having me.
A massive thanks to Lauren there, and yeah, I will leave all of the links in the description of how you can catch up with her on her socials. Don't forget, if you do like the podcast, do press that subscribe button, and please do leave a rating and review as well. Until next time.